Right, what I'm doing is sharing composite Pluto in Virgo in the 6th house. And what I'm going to do is just read a little bit from Robert Hand here on composite Pluto, what it means. It's a book that you can get, but also I study evolutionary astrology and I read charts. And in evolutionary astrology, we look at the chart a particular way, but it's beautiful what Robert Hand says in a book that I've read. And you can also get a book if you've seen aspects, planets in aspects, which is brilliant if you're studying astrology as well, to know your transits and what's taking place for you. So here goes. So we're discussing composite Pluto in Virgo, 6th house. Pluto is the planet of death and regeneration. In a composite chart, it represents those energies that cause a relationship to go through periods of heavy change. When Pluto is operative, something goes out of existence and a new order comes into being. Its action is absolutely essential to prevent the stagnation that occurs when an old way has been outlived its purpose. The old must be cleared away to make room for the new state of being that will follow. When dealing with Pluto, you must let go of whatever is going through the Plutonian crisis. If you try and hold on to something that is properly dead, you will not succeed in saving it. So you will only make the situation worse. So we can see many times in life where this happens. You know, we may be fed up with a job and we just hang on in there, and then we'll get fired or something like that. Or, you know, we'll have a car that keeps breaking down, but we'll hold on to it and then eventually it's just going to break down. We've got to let it go. So Pluto in our chart shows us what's going on, and particularly composite charts, we can see how a relationship, or you know, it can be any relationship, like with your child, with a partner, with a work colleague, with a friend. You can understand how your, you know, how the situation is developing or what you need to work on together. Also, he says, Pluto operates with such tremendous power that it may be divorced from its death and regeneration aspect and be experienced purely as power. So I'll add there, we can have, you know, like a positive use of power, and then we can have a negative use of power as well. The power results from the inevitability of Pluto's transforming quality. So Pluto's going to transform wherever it is in the chart, where it's transiting, but also in a chart of composite, it's for transformation and regeneration and rebirth. The transformations ruled by Pluto are those that arise from the very nature of what is transformed. Its effect is as much as an integral part of an entity as an object's weight, size, and color. Every living thing contains the set of circumstances that will eventually bring about all fundamental changes, including its death. The power of Pluto comes from within, so it's to do with our subconscious. It's deep below, and you know, this is what we're working on through life. It's a soul journey. So what I'm going to do is go to my next slide. Let me see here. Got that there. Okay, right. So what you've got is that there are a few points I'm going to make here. And when we're looking at the composite, we're looking at the house and sign where the composite Pluto resides, shows us the evolutionary intention and the prior life desire. And the second point is it shows us where the relationship left off in the past life. And then the polarity point shows us the way forward to resolve any karmic issues. We also look at point 3, north and south nodes and the location of the rulers. And then we want to, you know, we're looking at the intention of the relationship will be seen in the polarity point of Pluto and the house and sign it resides in. Here we can also understand the reason for the relationship and why it's taking place. And what I suggest you do is you get the Pluto, the Soul's Evolution Through Relationships, Volume 2, if you really want to go into deeper depths of understanding your relationships with others. This slide is showing my natal chart. This is dated the 30th of December. And you can see that I've got my transits on the outside. And then you've got here my Pluto. I'm a 9th house Pluto conjunct Uranus at 15 degrees. And I'm got it conjunct my MC. But this is a natal chart. But if you were to look at, I put my chart together with a friend, and this is what we got. So with a friend, with their date, birth, and time, and you do need the time of birth. It's imperative when you're doing this work, and the place, and you then combine the two charts. And this is a composite chart with my friend, and you can see here we've got a Pluto in the 10th house. So we would remedy our situation by looking any issues by moving to the fourth house. That will overall bring, you know, remedy to the situation if there's any issues. So then what you have is that you've got composite Pluto 6th house, composite Pluto Virgo. So I'm going to read to you now how this is defined so that you can see if it ties in with anybody you know that you have this with. So Pluto Virgo 6th house is self-improvement, self-sacrifice, crisis in past lives, emotional and psychological crisis, sadomasochistic tendencies, unconscious guilt and anger, and unconscious guilt and atonement. There can be disillusionment, searching of material resources to solve issues, too busy for each other, causing suffering, emotional needs not being met. Focusing on becoming efficient is needed, and the removal of crisis. So it's really important that with this placement that you know, whoever you're dealing with, that you begin to understand this and remove the crisis out of the relationship, because crisis can become a habit, and also from past lives as well. It's releasing what defeats one. So, you know, we know what defeats us, and sometimes we've got to release that too. And we can do that with friendships, not, you know, getting rid of people, but sort of solving things, solving problems. It's about helping each other heal wounds. And there can be a repetition of masochistic tendencies. So this is to do with the psyche. When I use that word masochism and sadomasochism, this is to do with the psyche. It's not to do with the sexual content, but more to do with the way we behave with each other. Here we can have stopping the recreation. It's important to stop the recreation of crisis and self-punishment. There can be no reciprocation and sacrificing oneself. So we need to learn to reciprocate each other, and, you know, to stop sacrificing each other. A desire to right wrongs as a pact causes difficulty. There can be bitterness and sarcasm, and one receives benefits and the other does not. So we have to watch out for that, where one person is receiving benefits and the other person is not. We need to go for empathy, connection, and also, you know, make sure that there's no lack of empathy and connection or lack of intimacy. And because here we have crisis management courses, quick bonding into the abyss. You know, when people go through crisis, they really bond rather too quickly sometimes, you know, in situations. And if we don't look at that, sometimes we can end up in situations that we shouldn't even be in. But the only reason we really bonded is because it was a crisis situation. Here we can be trying to make the relationship into something it was not meant to be, which is just going to cause more pain. So you've got to be aware of that as well. So how you would remedy this is that composite Pluto polarity point, the 12th house of Pisces. So you would look to that. And this would be the creating crisis to be dissolved and healed. So healing the crisis and learning to work together to eliminate crises and to come to a place of peace. The acceptance of responsibility for their own actions and their overall reality, time out together, which allows people to focus on each other and to resolve problems of a healing nature, releasing cycles of masochism and sadism, and acknowledging where and how this occurs. So acknowledge, you know, if you're hurting each other, acknowledge where you're doing that. Otherwise people do get bitter about things, you know. Also here we need forgiveness for the past life issues and this lifetime as well. And this is about resolving resentments and feelings of any anger you have. And the next slide, this is Jeff Wolf Green, Pluto, Volume 1, page 346. And I like to read this. The need to merge with the source, the universal, requires that the individual leaps into the abyss with faith, so that all barriers preventing this conscious union can be dissolved. Yet this evolutionary need is commonly met with resistance and fear. Just as the wave can resist returning to the sea for a time, so does the egocentric identification within the individual resist surrendering to the cosmic ocean or being from which he or she originated. So that's a great book as well, Volume 1. And then Carl Gustav Jung, he was born in 1875. He was a Swiss psychiatrist, and he said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That's a really deep thing he's saying there. So if we don't make things conscious, we'll keep repeating ourselves. And to me, this correlates to Pluto. So we can see how this statement has a direct connection to Pluto. I can, and I'm sure others can too. What you resist not only persists, but it will grow in size. So to be aware of that, what we resist will persist and it will grow in size. So, you know, when I look at Carl Gustav Jung work and Jung's work and evolutionary astrology, they tie in. You know, we're here to evolve and to become individuated. So that's it, and I'll be back with the next video will be Pluto in Libra, and that will be in the next few days. Thanks for watching, and I hope that's been helpful. If you have any questions, I do read charts, and I'm here, you know, to give general advice. You can find me over on Facebook too. Thanks for watching.